So I call it Astrology of Now, and I casted a chart for today, 0505 at 8 o'clock. So for you who understand a little bit of astrology, or you can just take it in intuitively, this is a snapshot of the sky from the earth, right? So like this is the earth, and this is like the sky above us, right? So last week we talked about, Sun, Uranus, Mercury, Sun, Uranus, Mercury in Aries, and they will still be there until I think 16th of May, right? And in the chart, the most important is the Sun, right? Because that's where we are going. Everything surrounds the Sun. Otherwise, when we pay attention to other planets too much, then we are kind of like living in the peripheral of all the dramas. Yeah. So this wonderful trine that you see, there's a big triangle here. The moon trines Mars and trines Venus. And Venus is so close to the Earth right now. So you see the yellow line there is a quintel. So it's a harmonic of 5. Okay. So whenever there's like 5, things kind of like runs easier, because that's our evolutions, a pentagram, right? So we see now, like, the Venus is in its own sign of Taurus, and it's quintel to Jupiter and Pluto. So that means it's like they are in harmonious aspect. So a lot of us who feel like, we are dealing with some relationship issues, values, feminine issues, mass issues, this is a really good time, to get clarity and to deepen our explorations on our values. And, we are so blessed to have this time, which I'll explain further. And we also see this nice quintel here is 72 degrees, the Mars quintel Uranus, which is great. Yeah. But incidentally, I also see people getting into a lot of issues now, with this Sun and Uranus, too much electricity in the air, too much Wi-Fi, and so it blocks our mental highway, because this is our higher perception, our higher mental faculties. So the main thing I want to talk about today, 0505, the first thing that came up to me was the number 5, and 5 is the number of love. So I focused on Venus, and it has a wonderful transit. Something is happening in the sky with this Venus. We call it is weaving, a rose in the celestial sky, in the sky right now. And this year is completing the last petal. So that's why it's so significant. So if you look at the glyph of the Venus, all right, it's a circle and then a cross down below. So if you just look at it like symbolically or esoterically, a circle represents a spirit, right? And this across, meaning it's like we are on Earth, is matter. So Venus is always about spirit over matter, right? So it's like the opposite of Mars. Mars is, always just, about the material, getting things now, competitive, doesn't matter about the values, whatever. But Venus would want to put in more spirits into it, more values into the things that we do, so that, we have an inner motivation to do what we want to do, right? So I was talking about, the Venus cycle that's happening. So I got this from this website, and I thought I'd like to show you so you have an idea what is happening. See this going on? So this is the Sun, right? And the smaller orange color, the one is the Venus. Blue is the Earth. So as they go around the Sun, you see that, they make a loop, and then they weave into a pentagram, which is like, we call it the rose of the Venus. Yes. And there's one here also, which is very interesting. So it takes about 8 years for Venus to move and to make a complete petal, a flower. Okay, as you can see here. So when it turns like this, a loop there, that's a retrograde. That means it's like, it looks like Venus is going backwards. So the whole cycle takes about 8 years to finish. 8 years, 13 odd bits. So, you know, there are two systems of calculation, which I'll talk about it later. So this video was made in, I don't know when, yeah, but 2016 marks the middle of the forming of the flower. Yes. Okay. So you already have, you know, some idea, like, you know, how it moves. So we just look at, so this is like, you know, it's about 1.6 years, you know, it will go from one point to the other point, and then from one point it will go to another point. So every one of this is like, it takes about 1.6 years. So total in all, it takes 8 years to form a rose, right? So just looking at the dates, right? We know that, like, you know, it is in the last phase, you know, this petal, this flower, this rose started knitting back in 2012, and it will reach its last leg on 3rd of June. And then by July 28, it would have finished, you know, the complete cycle. So, and what is very interesting is, like, you know, May 13 to June 25th, Venus is going through a retrograde. So anytime, you know, a planet goes through a retrograde, that means it's like, it looks as if it is going backwards from the Earth's point of view. So during that time, you know, we will find that a lot of issues that's Venus related will be brought up, will be surfaced. And, you know, to force us to really take a second look at it. Yes. Happens, you know, if the rose is completed. So there are various theories. You know, one that I found that I resonate more with is Rudolf Steiner's work. So this is taken from anthroposophist Mary Stewart Adams. And in her article, she was saying that, you know, at the end of the cycle, we wake up in human form. Because, you know, when the rose is being formed, like this, you know, when the rose is being formed, you know, it reminds us, you know, of our perfection, our form. And, you know, like Venus is very close to the Earth and is always considered as the sister planet. Yeah. Okay. And so we know that, like, Venus, it is the planet of love, harmony, and inspiration. It is about rising above matter. It's ascending to spirit. It's rising above, fight for your life. So I feel like, you know, we are reaching the retrograde soon, right? In June, coming up in May 13. And now at this window 5-5, you know, we see that Venus is in harmony with Jupiter and Pluto. Wow. So, and like personally, I've been also going through quite a shift for myself. Feminine issues, relationship issues are like surfacing again. But this time around, I feel like I can go deeper. You know, so Pluto is really about, you know, about transformation. It's about confronting our fears. It's going beneath the surface to meet ourselves. And right now, because Venus is going through the last stage of its evolution to complete the rose, and it's called an evening star. So every time, you know, it is in the evening star, you know, it goes through a phase just like the moon. So what they realize is, like, you know, we know, like, there's two sides of Venus. There's the morning star Venus, and then there's the evening star Venus. So it's like going through a moon phase. So evening star is like at the last stage of the moon phase, and morning star is in the beginning. So we are coming to the end of the cycle of Venus. So some people say, oh, it's wonderful. So then we wake up in human form and realize that whatever we set out to do in 2012, it's being completed in this year, right? So that's why it's like there's a lot for celebration. And even though, like, you know, we are in the last stage of its completion, a lot of old issues may surface. It may be kind of rough, but it's really asking for resolution right now. So it's the time to really see, you know, these barriers and how to connect to our true desire, because like Venus is about values, it's about what we truly desire, right? So, and another thing that is very interesting is, like, you know, this Venus being like the evening star is always referred to as the celestial Venus, right? So we know, like, Venus, there's two Venus. There's Venus that rules the Taurus, and there's Venus that rules the Libra. So like, this is the higher value of Venus, mainly manifested through the sign of Libra. And the more animalistic part is reflected in Taurus. So Taurus love are very sensual, very passionate, very possessive, because the opposite is the Scorpio. So if we put out that kind of energy of love, like, if it's very low kind of love, it's just possessive for your selfish interest, then what you get back, is the Scorpio, very possessive, very vengeful. It's like, satisfy your desire right now. Love is like dying, you just want to satisfy your desire, and, and it seems like, wow, it's just hitting in the head. Yeah. So, but the higher form of love, which is represented by the air sign of Libra, calls for judgment and discernment. Is using the mental faculty. Taurus is the earth sign. Taurus is very, I would say, like, using the sensing more. But in the animalistic side, it's just being very material, very, whether you have money. If this guy has money, then I'm just going for it. Yeah. If there's no interest for me, I'm out, right? But Libra is more using discernment, using the intellect. Its opposite is Aries. So, and right now, Sun is in the Aries, which is great. And, because it's like, if we manifest the higher virtues of Aries, meaning that it is very pioneering, it is the first zodiac sign, it's full of courage to be able to listen to, the voice of God, and then to strike out to become a warrior that way. Then, the love we attract is somebody that is very balanced, who uses the head and would be sensible in love, right? So evening stars are usually linked with Libra qualities, because it's like, the Venus has gone through a phase, like from the new moon to the full moon, from, to the ending cycle. Yes. So like evening star right now, it manifests a lot of Libra qualities. So it's like asking us to be able to take this love into the higher sphere. So to focus more on spiritual love, to go for more subtleties. Yeah. So that's why we find that, this is the time, the theme is about the evening star. It's about putting an end to whatever we started, So at the end of, like, these 8 years, what kind of values have we found ourselves, our self-worth? Some of us could still be like, being doubtful of ourselves, whatever, but, just know that we are coming to the end cycle. So just the last bit to get clarity about. And this is also a time to refresh our relationship again with Divine Feminine. As we know, like, the world works on polarities, and, the feminine has been put down so much. So, like, for myself, I've been clearing a lot about the hurt of a female, the fact that, there was a lot of repressed anger inside me, not being able to be a free female. And so I'm kind of like being defensive. And so a lot of clearing came up for me during this time. Yeah. Another issue is celestial union, because you find that, like, this polarity, this attraction, Venus is always about getting a partner, finding the union. And so if it's being purified, if its intent, its desire is heightened, then of course, everything will be escalated to a higher plane of existence. It doesn't have to be so passionate, and then, you get burnt in it. And the Mars is really not much without a clear and pure Venus. Yeah, because the Mars just want to execute things, right? So it depends on your values. So if we can purify our values at this time, right, then, the Mars in its execution will be clearer, and, to do exactly what we want to do. So around Venus, again, it's about relationship. It's about values, our self-worth, and it's also related to the throat, the larynx and the voice, like Taurus, is related to this part of the body. And esoterically, the throat, like in Steiner's work, he referred to the throat as the organ of creation. So like in the future, what that means is that, people are going to find out that, they have so much power with words, with sound, because everything is vibrational. If you look at the Bible, and God said, let there be light. God said something first. So like right now, a lot of people I know, they are more into singing, to opening up their voice, which is really opening up the throat chakras as well, to be able to speak the truth. And then, whatever we speak, we know that, it has it becomes reality. Yeah, and there is so much power in it. So use this time constructively, to clear your voice, to clear, about truth, and to speak your truth, to practice speaking out loud so that you can hear. Yes. Venus, we also know it is related to the kidney, which is the main organ of the astral body. So by astral body, it just means that it refers to our emotions and thoughts. Yes. So like in Chinese medicine, we all know, like, kidney is very important. It is like the storage place for our quintessence. So like, for the male, the semen is stored inside the kidney. That is our quintessence. So, if they waste too much in sexual act, then, the whole, the qi is not so available for creative work. And Venus is all about love. Harmony is creating value. It is a creative organ. So people who are strong in, Venus, you find that, they have very beautiful hair. They're also very productive. I mean, one person you can relate to, like, the great musician Bach, has beautiful hair. He's got 20 children. So just to give you an idea of the association, kidney being, the quintessence. And so pay attention to what's happening within you, just look at your organs, your kidney, how it manifests, whether there's any swell in the body. Water retention is also related to kidney as well. And, like in the feet, it is also related, like right in the middle of the feet, our soul, there is this called Yongquan Xue, which is translated means the eternal spring. So when you press on that acupressure point, it impacts the kidney, which, will allow the kidney to function even better. Yeah. So just check on all these points. And then, of course, Venus is also related to the veins, varicose veins as well. And of course, venereal diseases, if one indulges too much, then there's an association there, when everything is too much. So creativity, procreation, value, this keep coming back, and as a way for us to understand, like Venus is the impulse of, it takes on the impulse from Aries. It's like Aries is like, it takes the impulse from God, right? And then it's like a seed. And inside the seed, it's inscribed in it, patterns. Yeah. So Venus is about how do I create, the kind of right environment for this seedling to grow, right? So that's why Venus is very nourishing. It's about producing that kind of ambience, atmosphere for growth. So like, in desert, you only find certain kinds of plants can grow. So you have to ask yourself, like spiritually, are you growing? Are you providing yourself with the kind of right environment for your own growth, right? So we can take it, further, to contemplate more about, the pentagram. So like one illustration, like, the Great White Brotherhood, which is an esoteric group. And, they contemplate, and, it can get very philosophical, and anyone who is interested in it can take a look. But what it says is like, every time when, like, Venus conjunct with Sun right here, when it makes a rose, right? When it makes a rose petal, it's actually doing a journey. Yeah. So it's got to concern, like, with justice, truth, with love, with wisdom, with kindness. These are all attributes for us to cultivate. So if you're into growing yourself further, this is one area that you may want to look at it. And, or you can just contemplate on the pentagram, you know, in your meditation. There are also, like in Rudolf Steiner's work, you could do some eurythmy, you know, to see the kind of balance, you know, within yourself, just to connect back. Yeah, because this, you know, this human form is so beautiful. So some of the pointers, like, you know, to pay attention during this time is to do more body work. And because like right now, this culmination of the Venus, it will end in the sign of Taurus, which is its own sign, which is an earth sign. So I feel like, you know, doing body work and really realizing all these values and materializing them in our own reality is so important. So work on your body, yes, and on your sensuality. So like for women, yeah, I mean, lately I've just been like more in tune with, you know, my female organs, and, you know, just really touching and connecting and, you know, seeing, you know, and just sending more love to it and understanding, you know, at a deeper level what they have gone through, not just one lifetime, my lifetime, but, you know, for my mother and all the women that live inside me. Yeah, if you want to go in that far to connect. So this is a good time for communication because, you know, look at the Libra. Venus with Libra is a time for communication, for judgments to come in, for discernment to come in, and to allow the healing to take place between the divine feminine and masculine. And also, this is a time to create the kind of ambience for our own growth, contemplate on our form, our beauty, and what it means to be fully human, to be grounded on earth, right? So this is the crux of what I have to present. Yeah. So this quintel, this Venus with Jupiter and Pluto, is only for like, you know, 2-3 days, this couple of days. So I felt it's like really wonderful that, you know, we can use this time to receive more grace. It's like we can go deep into it, but still have a lot of grace and guidance from it because like Jupiter is there, you know, to support us in our underground descent, you know, to confront our fears and values, right? Which is a wonderful time. So then the next time would be like May 13th onwards to June 25. So I don't know how that can be translated into the outer world. You know, some people they are predicting that, you know, as far as our value system is concerned, there will be like, you know, a big hoo-ha going on. I mean, as you already can see, people are confined at home. The world is changing. The economy system is changing. People are re-evaluating their life differently. So May to June, you know, we could see that, you know, things that we value now, you know, it could change. The media is going to change for sure. You know, how we work, how we value things and relationships is going to, you know, going through a big shift. And I just hope that, you know, at the end of this cycle, you know, by July 28, when the rose has been knitted, that we would have felt more accomplished. And to know that even like, you know, at a time where, you know, there's so much chaos going on, just to connect, you know, with the celestial beauty that's happening. You know, whatever we do here do affect the sky. We can light up the sky. We can light up the whole heaven. And I mean, look, Venus is part of us and it's weaving a beautiful rose out there. I mean, that is very encouraging. So this is what I have to share. If you have any questions, any comments?
Sorry, just a quick clarification. July 28 is July 28, 2020?
2020, yes, this year.
This year, okay.
Yeah, so that's why you see like, you know, this big, you know, I mean, I can relate to myself, you know, this cycle 2012 to 2020, because that was like the time of my awakening. Yeah, where I lost many things, you know, so it's like the possessive Venus, you know, the Taurus that, you know, I thought I value my work, I value my partners, and then everything was gone. And that
actually,
kind
that's quite true for me as well. 2012 was just there about when I started doing my metaphysical work.
Yes. I think for a lot of people, 2012 was
Yeah.
a marker. Yeah, so I can see like, you know, it's ending in 2020. It's quite true. Yeah, I can relate to that.
Mm.
And then, so, you know, the Mayan calendar, you know, come back to that one. So it talks about an even bigger cycle. So this cycle, you know, it began in 1922 and it's a 104-year Venus cycle of 13 8-year cycle. So that means like, you know, the first point was 2018 and the next point is actually June 3rd. Yeah. So whatever, because, you know, it keeps on weaving, you know, the petals. It just go on infinitely, eternally. It's just building and building, you know, this beautiful rose. So, you know, whatever system you follow, you know, I feel like, you know, this is, I mean, celestially, I mean, you just see the pattern, what's going on. It's like, there's already so much to be thankful for. And then to see our own growth, that, you know, we are more mature in love. Yeah, before like love is just, you know, I love you, you don't love me, you know, then war, you know, the mask will come out and lash out. But now it's like, you know, we have to really set an intent to love no matter what. And the more we, you know, we set our ideals, we are more sure of our ideals. You know, if we wake up every early morning, you know, like Matt kind of was suggesting, that you know, if we wake up early in the morning and we already decide what kind of energies we want to put out into the world, then we are in the emitting mode. We are putting out. Then we are not absorbing the negativities as much. Yeah. Okay. So
I was only wondering whether, like, you know, every year the Venus will more or less repeat a similar pattern around the
yes,
Earth.
yes, it does.
But
Continuously,
wouldn't the,
eternally.
yeah, then wouldn't the other planets somewhat influence the effects of the Venus, like different positions of the planet, like Saturn and Jupiter, those outer planets?
Yeah, of course. Of course. I mean, everything will be affected. So like, you know, like right now we see like, you know, Venus under the influence of Pluto and under, you know, a benevolent, I would say good influence of Pluto and Jupiter. And we should definitely, you know, use this time, you know, to be grateful, you know, like, you know, collectively. I mean, like Pluto is also like, you know, tap into the collective fear. So, you know, so on a micro scale, you know, if we clear up our own fear, we help the collective to clear as well. There's no doubt about it. You know, we don't suffer for anything. We don't suffer just for ourselves. We suffer for, you know, collectively as well. And as we, you know, clear, we are clearer. You know, there's a saying that, you know, rising tide lifts all boats. I believe that is true. I mean, I see it within my family as well. As I shift, my mom shift. This is today, you know, my mom has been sick, so I've been looking after her. And, you know, I see her really shifting. Today, I was just, you know, doing some hot compress for her. It's the first time that she can smile and joke. It's like, wow, so much harmony and love now, you know, she can really suck it up and receive it. So thankful for it.
Interesting. Thank you.
Welcome. So for your info, like for this time, I'm doing a special 30 minutes online support for $30. And for full natal chart, I'm doing at half price and $90. If anyone is interested, you can always just give me a tinkle. All right. So otherwise, I think we are done for today. If anyone wants to talk and chat, I can open up another link again because this one is expiring.